What's poppin', y'all? It looks like two titans in historically hip-hop media. One is print, Elliott Wilson, and then radio, Charlamagne, are getting into it. Charlamagne, it came off a bit as, hey, Elliott Wilson has done a lot more media in the past 8 years or so. He had Rap Radar with B-Dot. He's had some really home run interviews, whether it was the Drake interview years ago, whether it was Jay-Z. More recently, I think they had the YoungBoy interview, and he made the list pretty high up at Complex's hip-hop power ranking. They put him up at number 5, and he got put on there for the Tyler, the Creator interview, up and down relationship with Drake, sparking debates about journalists versus streamers. So he's done a lot, and I think he's right. Yeah, so he's right below Charlamagne, and Charlamagne was saying that he doesn't want him to be number 5. If we circle back to the video that I did on the Complex list, which you should check out, I felt that their ranking was based on creating moments that everybody focused on within hip-hop for a period of time, whether that was 2 days, 3 days, or more. Now, there are other people on here that didn't necessarily do that. For example, Ebro, Gillian Wallow, they had a couple of moments, but they're more so consistent across the board. So Charlamagne calls him out. And then I'll play the clip for you guys first, actually, and then we'll get into the response that Elliott Wilson had.
Elliott, I don't think you should be number 5. Number 4, Charlamagne the God. All right, now let me read this, right? Last year's ranking, number 3, featured on The Breakfast Club, The Brilliant Idiots, known for sensational commentary, asking provocative questions in his Donkey of the Day segment. Most memorable moments in the past year being sampled by... I think, Jason, that's what I mean when I say, why are you upset that people are transcending hip-hop? I'm not trying to be the 50-year-old person still complaining about not being on lists, beefing with screamers, doing goofy shit, starting shit, online with rappers just to keep my name relevant. No, I want to do things and put...
Okay, so I don't know if that sounds haterish to you guys. I will say that Charlamagne has not outright hated on anybody explicitly. And this is where he says, oh, you don't want to be a bitter old hater at 50, having a problem with people transcending hip-hop. This is twofold for me. Number one, Charlamagne is a sly hater. So Charlamagne will pretend to be... like, there was a period of time when Charlamagne was really hating on academics. He was hating on the success that academics was having. Academics, I feel like, is just so... the word isn't enamored or infatuated, but I think he just holds Charlamagne to such high esteem that he was willing to look past a lot of the things that he was saying and misinterpret them in favor of Charlamagne. Whereas any person that wasn't attached to either of them could see, oh, this guy's taking sly shots. He's on hater mode right now. And that's the perspective that I have when it comes to not hating on people, quote unquote. The only person I've really seen Elliott could be described as hating on was the Kai Cenat thing. And he apologized for that. I don't think it was a great... I don't think it was a great look. It was during the Nicki Minaj thing. And he apologized for it, so I think he understood what he was talking about. But the one thing that I see with Elliott Wilson is that there are times when someone gets an opportunity, and I think he has a scarcity mindset. So if Kai Cenat gets a Nicki Minaj interview, he feels like he can't get that. Or if Drake did something with Bobby Alphoff, which is, I think, what kicked off the last one. He's like, oh, Bobby Alphoff's not even hip-hop. I think he's thinking, oh, Drake did something with her. He's not going to do something with me. Or that could have been something that he did with me. I think he just has to be more open-minded to looking at it from the artist's perspective. So for a Nicki Minaj, for a Drake, they have to continuously be recruiting new fan bases or tapping into new fan bases. And there's varying degrees of, let's say, heat for a fan base. So within hip-hop, Drake's heat level is very high, as in fans listen to his music, they pay attention to what he's got going on, and they're active Drake enjoyers or Drake haters. But in other realms of the internet and of the world, they may have heard Drake music, they may listen to Drake hits here and there, but they don't know too much about him. They probably don't watch hip-hop outlets. So they're not cold, but let's say they're lukewarm. And him doing certain platforms will trigger more of a cascading effect. And more people will start posting these clips, and they'll see Drake in a different light. They'll be like, oh, man, this Drake guy's cool. I listened to his music, but I didn't know too much about him. And they weren't going to watch the hip-hop media outlets. So it behooves people like Drake to do stuff like that. And it's in their best interest. So if you're Elliott Wilson in this case, I feel like you have to look at it from, okay, I understand why Drake did that, as opposed to, oh, Drake owes us. And Drake has given them a big interview. And when he wasn't doing any interviews, he gave Rap Radar a huge interview. So for a lifetime, that should be enough. I think you're biting off more than you can chew for having this expectation that it should continue to be with you. The second point, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj, Kai's from the Bronx. She's from Queens, actually. They're both from New York. They've had interactions already. Kai is an entertainment platform. Sure, he's not a hip-hop journalist. He's not even really... You wouldn't say that he is hip-hop media. I would say he's just an entertainer. Sure, he enjoys hip-hop music. He's made a bunch of content with rappers. You can tell he appreciates it. You can tell he grew up on it. But that's not his main thing. That's not the identity of his brand. And that's cool. So for Nicki Minaj to hop on there, she's getting a very young audience, which is new people that have heard of her, but now she's on a different stage. And just because she does that doesn't mean she can't do something with Elliott Wilson. And I think the traditional interview isn't as potent as it once was. Like Breakfast Club interviews used to go crazy. Now they don't as much. Maybe numbers-wise, they're still performing as well. But the network effect, right? The ripples that interviews had years ago, 2016, we'll say 2016, 17, even 18, being on streams or on certain podcasts have that ripple effect now. Therefore, they are more valuable to the artist if they want to make sure that they are seen to the widest group of people. I think this is just not an empathy thing, but for Elliott Wilson, I just don't think he's interpreting it or looking at it from that lens. And I think it would assist him if he did that. Do I think Elliott Wilson should be number 5? Let's see, who is he above? He's above Ebro. I would have put him above Ebro. I would have put him above Fantano. I would have put him above Vlad. I don't know. Because Vlad had the Tupac moment. That's one of the craziest things to happen this year. But I would 100% have him on this list. Probably, would I have had him on my personal top 10? No. But for the criteria of a magazine, me looking at it from their perspective, yeah, I'm not upset with where they put him. So he goes in on Charlamagne. He says, F you, suckers stuff, just throwing shots. So now these guys are going at it. And I think this is great to see. Circling back, so I addressed the first point. The second point that I wanted to make was this transcending hip-hop thing. Charlamagne, he's doing more political stuff. Certain other media outlets, I think that's what Charlamagne is saying, that they're expanding their reach outside of hip-hop or transcending it as he uses. Why is this allowed? But if an individual like Post Malone or not even MGK, other people, like Yachty has once said, oh, he's not just a rapper. He kind of wants to transcend rap. They get met with vitriol for wanting to do that. Yet Charlamagne is here espousing that, and nobody has a problem when he says that. Perhaps that just wasn't the focus of the headline, so it wasn't looked at in that way. But for a media personality to be able to expand and there be no problem and people be proud of it, but somebody like Lil Yachty wants to make non-rap music and explore outside, or any other artist, they get met with, hey, you have to stay in this box. I personally don't think that's fair. So that's the other point that Charlamagne made. Hopefully this creates some competition. I do understand where, not really, I don't really get where Charlamagne is coming from, because what if Elliott is just still in love with this hip-hop thing like he was 30 plus years ago, and he doesn't want to quote-unquote transcend or get into political conversations or these other things, and he's just strictly focused on hip-hop. For him to still want to compete, I think that's cool at 50. Now, if you're hating, if you want to call it that, then I don't think that's great. But Elliott Wilson has, I feel like he's shown a lot of love to a ton of people, and he's pretty plugged in for somebody that old. I would say he's more plugged into what's going on in hip-hop and younger hip-hop media outlets than Charlamagne is. But that's what I've got to say about the situation. I like Elliott Wilson. I don't dislike Charlamagne. I do see him as a legend, and I think he's one of the most entertaining people ever in hip-hop. But for this take, I don't know why he singled out Elliott Wilson specifically. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.